Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hugnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod and over on Facebook. Go give the page a like over there as well. And please, at this point, go to YouTube and subscribe to the ThunderCast YouTube channel. As we saw really recently, we have some ThunderCast YouTube exclusive content. Most recently, the National Signing Day football recruiting recap video, which has been really well received. So you don't want to miss any of the content that's going on over there on YouTube. Russ, was a very busy week in herd athletics. Some of the seasons are starting to wind down. Our teams are, in basketball particularly, are clawing for positions within the conference and, fighting for conference tournament seeding potentially. And we're going to talk about some of the games that happened since our last recording over the end, or since our last recording that have happened since that recording. And there's a lot of other stuff just floating out there. So let's get into this. Let's get a word from our sponsors and get this episode rolling. So here is 304carwreck.com. If you've been hurt in a wreck, visit 304carwreck.com on the web or on Facebook. You can't stop a bad driver from crashing into you and making you a victim. But when you're hurt and you try to deal with the insurance companies alone, you set yourself up to be a victim again. Don't be a victim twice. Jason and Matt can't protect you from bad drivers, but they can protect you from the insurance companies. Find them at 304carwreck.com.
All right, KD, before we get into the five things, you mentioned some things floating around out there, and we just kind of want to address a couple of them because we won't be talking about them in the five things, and here's why. Number one, there's a lot of talk about the game with Central Connecticut State that supposedly has been canceled and that the date may be moving as everyone had kind of hoped that it would, so you wouldn't have a week one bye, which is not ideal. That's out there, but that has not been 100% confirmed. So we decided that until it's confirmed and there's an announcement by Marshall, we're not going to report on that, and no need to speculate. I put my speculation hat on all the time, but
yeah,
when you reach out and the university says, no, we can't confirm that just yet, we're not going to talk. We're just going to say when we do have news, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, in the meantime, it's something fans can try to do the old detective work and say, all right, who's off on this week? Who could we possibly get? Or are we going on the road or whatever? Yeah. That, there's a lot of things that you can do to occupy your time, but man, I don't have that kind of time to try to figure that kind of stuff out. I would just as soon wait for an announcement. But I think I feel okay saying that I'm somewhat relieved that this game's coming off the schedule. It goes without saying that it did not move the needle for really anybody. And we know why it was put on. There were some things that moved around and Marsh kind of had to get a game, and we understand. But as these things are fluid, things often change. And this one apparently has some movement behind it. So at least I can say, okay, a game that didn't move the needle for me is coming off the schedule. So now I'm optimistic.
And we don't know who's going on the schedule to replace if this gets confirmed, right? I mean, right now it hasn't been. But that game may or may not move the needle either. But if it's able to be moved to week one and we don't have a week one bye, I'm 100% for that because, if it's a throwaway game as far as like not a marquee game, not able to have a conference game that early in the season, no matter what it is. If you're just trading weeks, if that's the way that it comes out, I'm 100% behind this. So you don't have a bye and then have to go 12 consecutive weeks playing.
Yeah. Marshall's trying to do something special this year, competing, and you don't want to have to rip off 12 straight weeks without a bye week. If I'm going to trade one cupcake for another, I mean, okay, but at least give me the leverage of not having a week 1 bye. Then
Yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. That's also a trade-off I would be willing to make.
Yeah.
I don't expect it. You're like, well, we're not playing Central Connecticut State, but hey, guess who's coming? Nebraska's coming. No, I don't expect that to happen, but I'm just saying, if I've got another cupcake and I don't have to have a week 1 bye, that's a win in my opinion.
And again, this has not been confirmed.
Yeah, it's just all
But
speculation. We're
yeah,
just saying. We're just
yeah,
talking.
but because it's out there, and there was a news report from somebody else, just as of right now, it hasn't been confirmed, and that's the stance we're going to take on it.
Yeah.
Number two, a lot of smoke about Corey Gamage because he did not get reported under Memphis's signing class after putting on Twitter that he committed to them. He took down photos of him in Memphis gear and uploaded photos from before when he was in Marshall gear. So there's all kinds of speculation on that. But guess what? He wasn't under the signing class that we just covered. No statement has been made. He's not made one unless he made one today that I've missed. But we can't report on news if it's not news. All it would be is speculation and things you might see on social media or message boards or here at the post office, the water cooler. So again, same as with the other thing, hadn't been confirmed. So we got nothing to report to you.
Yeah. I know there was some smoke throughout the fan base and like, oh, look, he, once that tweet came out that Corey wasn't on the Memphis signing day roster, people started thinking, well, maybe he's going to come back out of the portal and, could be back here. And you're right. It's until it's something official out there, it's just completely speculation. And,
yeah,
it is what it is. I, as you were talking, I was checking, and I didn't see him tweet anything, about being back. So we'll just let that lie until something comes out.
Yeah, when something comes out, we'll tell you. We'll be putting it on social media and we'll be talking about it on the show. Until now, that's why you won't see it in the 5 things.
Right.
But we do have 5 things, and we got 5 positive things, 5 good things.
We got 5 actual things that every Herd fan needs to know this week.
And as always, those 5 things are brought to you by Ignite Link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Let's start off with number 1. Luísa Travassos has been called up to the U20 Brazil national team camp.
Yeah,
pretty
cool,
big.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so of course that's soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen a flurry of signings from women's soccer here over the last couple of weeks, hitting in the portal, some for future classes. I saw one just the other day I think it's a class of 2024 prospect. So, we took a hit with some scoring prowess hitting the portal, but we have in turn hit the portal to try to round out this roster, become more competitive in the Sun Belt. And I think we're doing that. But this right here, just to stick to this thing, Travassos being called up to the Brazilian under-20 national team, that's kind of a big deal, right? Because I would tend to think that I don't know much about soccer, and I don't know much about who's traditionally powerful worldwide in soccer, but I do know that Brazil is traditionally pretty powerful in soccer. So that's got to be a nice accolade to have in the cap, and it's got to be a good sign for things regarding Herd women's soccer, right?
Yeah, this camp is February 13th through the 22nd. It's a 10-day camp that she'll be going to. She was a freshman this year, just to tell you a little bit about her, and scored 4 goals in 18 matches for us. Great sign, though, like you said, a national team at any nation has to be good. There's only so many spots that they're going to have at that camp. So huge news for her. Super happy for her. And this is the second player for us in that many years, with Kat Gonzalez going to the World Cup qualifying matches for the Dominican Republic last year. So just tells you we got some good talent on this women's soccer team.
Yeah, definitely do. You can tell that they're on the uptick. I think I'm not trying to take anything away from what is being done on the women's side of thing, but those championships, the men making those deep runs, getting the brand out there that Marshall soccer is a player, it's had to have opened some eyes and make some athletes more willing to take a more serious look at Marshall. And then at that point, it's on our coaches and our assistants to, sell them on Huntington and soccer in Huntington. And I think they're doing a great job of that. So, like I said, I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but being able to open those eyes to folks who probably never have heard of Marshall or would have paid attention to Marshall, it's starting to pay a little bit of dividends. So I'm glad we're seeing some successes on both sides, from the men's and the women's sides, because of our standing in the collegiate soccer going up here over the past few years.
Yeah. Number 2, and I need you to temper your excitement because I know you've got this. You're waiting with this word. I see you rocking back and forth, getting ready to say
Cocked and loaded.
And I'm going to let you do it. But Swim and Dive has been named a 2022 fall semester CSCAA Scholar America team. KD, what is it?
That's a differentiator, baby.
That is a differentiator. We talk all the time about how well our athletes perform in the classroom, how that should resonate with parents of potential recruits coming here to Marshall, what they should know about our seriousness, how we take, scholastic endeavors along with things on the field or in the pool or in the gym, on the track, whatever. And this is great. At team 3.3 GPA for the fall semester. I mean, that's really good.
3.83, sir.
What did I say?
3.3.
Oh, 3.83. Sorry.
3.83, making them the number 1 team GPA in all of Division I. So it's not just a hit this benchmark, you get the award. They were the number 1 team in all of Division I in team GPA. That is very impressive when you think about how many Division I teams there are that offer swim and dive, right? So that's a big deal, man. Big deal.
And the article goes on to say that Marshall had 16 student athletes earn a 4.0 GPA, 25 finished with a 3.5 GPA, and all student athletes earning at least a 3.0 GPA.
Yeah. I did that once.
That's getting it done. I think if you added all mine up, I might have gotten to the 3.0, but I don't think they were cumulative.
It's like cumulative in a different way,
like stacking them. I don't think they allowed that back then, at least. That probably changed, but no, that is great. That is awesome to see. How hard is it just for a student to do that, right?
Hard.
Yeah.
That's for me.
Guilty. But a student athlete with their schedule and the road trips that you have to go on. I mean, daggone, we're in the Missouri Valley Conference for swim and dive this year and last semester. So you've got to like drive or fly or whatever to go to these meets out in the Midwest, several hours away. And just to be able to do that, get in practices, all that stuff, my hat's off to everybody.
Yeah. I say all the time, anytime you're number 1 in the country in anything, I don't care what it is, it's a big deal. And this is a big deal. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to head coach Ian Walsh putting that culture in place and a true commitment to academics. Like the student athlete is an actual student athlete in that program. That's just big time stuff, man. And I'm proud of them. I'm proud of that. That takes a lot of work. Like I said, I can look back and reflect on that more now as an adult and thinking, I probably could have worked harder. And that's why I didn't, score as high in my classes, but that just tells you how hard you kind of have to work to do it. Now I wasn't the greatest, but I did okay. They're killing it. They're to use a terrible pun, they're blowing it out of the water, right? I mean, they really are. This is great.
I'm going to log off after one more pun and I'm out of here. All right. So let's switch over to volleyball with number 3. The volleyball schedule for the spring 2023 is out. Let me tell you a little bit about it. You got March 25th, Fairmont State right here in Huntington, 2 p.m. April 1st, Davis and Elkins here at 6 p.m. April the 6th, West Virginia State comes here at 6 p.m. And April 15th is at KIVA in Louisville, Kentucky. Time to be determined. So only 4 different events in the spring, but 3 of them are right here. And for our fans that are closer to the Lexington, Louisville area, you have a chance to go a little bit for a shorter commute and watch them down there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This is a team that I know we are both cautiously optimistic about, because I remember the signings that came around, and there were a lot of transfers. There's a lot of hope that some holes were filled, and that we'll see the next step be taken. I know we had higher hopes last year, and we hit a rough stretch and a rough patch, and things started kind of, getting off the right path a little bit, and a little bit of a regroup, and started pulling things back together. And Coach Ari and that staff, they worked their tails off, and to be able to identify those problems, those shortcomings, and then to not say, well, you know what, let's give it a minute, we'll see if we got it ironed out. No, they went and took action to try to provide immediate results, immediate upgrade. That's what you like to see. I like decision. I don't like indecisiveness in a head coach. And Coach Ari has taken 100% ownership of her program, and is trying her absolute damnedest to make us a contender in the Sun Belt. I'm really here for it, and I hope that we see some of the fruits of that labor this spring.
And I've said this before, but it's a fun
Super
game,
fun,
to go to. But especially if you have young girls like I do, they love seeing that. They love seeing people that, they're not going to a men's football game, a men's basketball game, men's soccer game, the women's volleyball, softball, women's soccer, tennis, just all across the board on what they can go to. It means a lot for them, right? So my girls had a blast going to watch them play. And speaking of, we're going to transfer over to number 4 out of our 5 things. They have Marshall Volleyball announced the summer camp schedule. So number 1 is the Little Herd Camp, and it's July the 10th through the 13th. Check-in is at 8:30 a.m. It lasts from 9 to 12:30 every day with no lunch. It's just a straight 3.5 hours. The cost is $30 a day. And I said girls, but boys and girls can go to this, ages 8 to 12. So they provide a T-shirt for you. My girl, oldest, went last year. Of course, she's in that age range, and she had an absolute blast. So if you have any girls or boys in the 8 to 12 range, you should give serious thought to sending them over, because it's really fun.
Well, and for no other reason, they get to rub shoulders with these hurt athletes a little bit. Yeah. They get to rub shoulders, they get to play where the big kids play, the collegiate athletes play. I mean, it's just a cool experience. So, and it helps our volleyball program. This is a fundraiser for them. So this is kind of the, couple of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Your children get to do something really cool. They will probably build a couple of core memories and things that they'll remember for a long time. And you get to support herd volleyball. So there's really not a good reason to not do it. If you can understand, but if you can do it, you should do it. You should.
And when they went last year, my daughter had never played before, so I was kind of interested on, the skill level. And I can tell you from last year and the article, what it says this year, all skill levels are welcome. It doesn't matter if they are already on a team and have been playing for years, or if they've never played and just want to go and have fun. They will tailor it to that individual child and allow them to have fun and learn. And I'm telling you, it's a good time.
Yeah.
They've also got some other things on here. I'm going to hit these real quick. Hitter and setter camp is for girls age 12 to 8. It's a little more advanced in that. All skills camp ages 9 to 18. Again, a little more advanced. Passer server 12 to 18, a little more advanced. Elite camp, if that doesn't tell you it's a lot advanced, that is for ages 13 to 18. and it's only a 2-day camp. And then there's a team camp will also be in July for varsity, JV, and freshman teams. So there are 7 total camps. The first one is for kids of 8 to 12. Doesn't matter your skill set. The rest are individual things where people that are already playing, girls that are already playing, can learn to do this. So this is all on herdzone.com. We've been telling you, get that app. If you have that app, just go over to volleyball and it'll have all this information on it.
Yep. You gotta get out there. If you've got a youngin that plays volleyball, get them involved in these camps, let them hone their skills a little bit. If you've got a really good young player who needs maybe just a little bit of exposure or needs to go up against a little bit of better competition than they're getting in their normal practices or around their normal, crowd, get them into these camps and let them go up against some, stiffer competition, or maybe get seen a little bit and, maybe open some doors for themselves. But these are all good things. Again, I can't say it enough. This is a great opportunity to support Herd Volleyball. Just get out there and support them.
All right, and our 5th thing to round out a very positive 5 things this week, Noah Thompson, American Idol winner from right here in the area, Louisa, Kentucky, is slated to sing the national anthem at the Marshall men's basketball game on February the 18th.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. They've been having a flurry of special national anthem singers here lately. And that's pretty cool. That's not something that I recall kind of being a thing too often at Marshall games, like especially as when I was a student. You might see one every now and then or once in a blue moon. But there's a lot of talented folks in this area. And it's really great that Marshall's embracing them and bringing them in, sing for us, do the national anthem for us. They had
Landau.
That's it. I couldn't think of it. Yeah, him the other day, and the one that they posted,
the Van Hoos lady. I can't remember her first name.
That one brought the house down.
Yeah, and Landau obviously is good at what he does. He's nationally known, probably internationally known, and just to have these people, but also the local kind of regional thing that you're talking about, and the talent that they do, it just sets the tone for just such an experience. We've got the lights now, the Herd lights, which again, they're on the Herd Zone app.
Get the app.
Get the app, download it, have it ready, participate. But everything that they've done at the CAM this year with more things on the walls, more intimate setting by, not having people going to save $3 to be up in a potential
sauna.
Well, no, it's
and
not
a danger zone. Yeah, you're drinking with no handrails.
Yeah, I was going to say a danger zone. There's no handrails up there and steep, but just to have everybody down lower together, it's been loud. It's been great. The way that they've done everything, just everything they've done has made it not only a harder place for opponents to play, but a fun ticket to go to. How many sellouts have we seen? These last 2 games when we have them here, it's going to be the last 2 times to see Tavion Kinsey. We're going to talk about that again when that week comes up. But it's, man, they my hat's off again. I know I've already used 2 hats off references, but in this instance, they deserve it. Hats off to everyone that's made the CAM a place to be for basketball this year.
Yeah, I think what we've done is shown the Sun Belt that Marshall's not just a football school. And I think a lot of fan bases throughout the Sun Belt just thought they're a football school. That's really all they care about. And, they don't really, maybe haven't been taking us seriously on other sporting fronts. And that's fine. That's fine. But I think right out of the gate, we came in and proved that we're pretty passionate about our basketball team. And we follow and we'll support our women's programs as well. Anytime out of town fans or opposing fans come into a volleyball match, a women's basketball game, whatever, there's a decent contingency there, and it's energetic and it's loud and it's fun, So I think we've opened the eyes of a lot of other fan bases about who we are, athletic department wide, as fans. And you're right. Some of the decisions that were made in the Cam Henderson Center this year were great because the environment has been lively, to say the least. It looks really good on TV because I can't just walk across town and go into the cam anymore. So when I get the opportunity to watch a game on TV, it looks really good. It sounds really good. I mean, just it's been a pretty good string of decisions as far as Cam Henderson Center goes this year.
Top 4 in attendance in the Sun Belt for basketball on the men's side this year are the 4 new
All the
teams,
newcomers. Yeah.
that came into the Sun Belt. So it's been a huge boost. And Southern Miss and us, again, we're going to talk about this a little later, are in the top 3 right now in the Sun Belt standings. And obviously the 2 of us were part of those 4 that were newcomers. So it's just been really good to have I had a lot more fun this year. Obviously, we had a losing team last year. We got a winning team this year. It's a fun team to watch. But I just feel like we've gotten a shot in the arm by moving to the Sun Belt in all areas. And can't wait for soccer, can't wait for baseball, can't wait for softball. Everything is just feels so much better in the Sun Belt.
Yep, sure does. It's hard to argue with that.
Well, this is our 5 things. We had 5 positive things, and it's always nice to have 5 positive things.
Yep.
And as always, those were brought to you by Ignite Link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team.
Just can't say enough about all the things that we've been able to do positively across the athletic department. It seems like every week, the majority of things, if not all 5 things, are positive or at least mention of something that will be positive. And we don't do that by choice. If like there's something that's not so cool that's going on, we talk about it, right?
Yeah.
But I think it, like you said, it's been a breath of fresh air this whole year, and this was it's just a good time to be a Herd fan. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to be excited about, and we can always do better. Yeah, and there's always that crowd that's not going to be happy, but I think by and large, most Herd fans are happier this year than they were last year. I would say that. And Ignite Link, I don't think we can say enough about what Jed and those guys do. If you've watched the National Signing Day episode, even something as small as, I've heard people complain like when we do press conference shows, you can't hear the reporters ask the questions. Well, our feed, what we shot had the reporters asking the questions. You could hear that. And that's Jed. That's Ignite Link,
And I have to tell you a little something about that because, that was the first one that we went to with this setup. We learned almost immediately that you can tell the difference in the clarity between out there just because of the way they're in a semicircle and they're speaking toward that. So we're going to have it much better for next time because it's a learning experience. But,
sure.
We talked about having a little bit more high definition on the camera, not in an upgrading the camera situation because it's a great camera. It's just we're making fine-tuned adjustments and everything from this learning experience. So those guys really, at something that they don't do, which Jed tries to tell everybody all the time, they're really good at it.
Yeah, they're getting really good at it. And he's just an excellent partner, an excellent partner. And we just can't be more thankful for what they're helping us bring to the Herd fan base. And by some of the comments that we get, those folks are appreciative too. You can tell they're like, man, this is really great. I'm glad you guys are doing this. And we have to throw that right back over to Jed and go, well, we're just, we just do our thing. They help make us look really good.
Yeah.
But in speaking of the National Signing Day episode, that was kind of our feature right this week, because it was such a big deal and it went so long, of course. So this episode, we're going to do your 5 things. And of course, now we're just going to wrap it up with Around the Herd and talk about everything that has happened since our last episode. And I don't think there's anywhere better to start than track and field, because there is some great news over the past 2 weeks from track and field. And I'm going to let you start it off since we were heading to, I think we said we were heading to Louisville for a meet last week. So let's start there, and then we'll bring it up through this week.
Yeah, so we had 2 straight weekends there, but this was the Lenny Lyles Invitational last weekend. Stop me if I have said this before on this show. Abby Herring broke her own record in the mile. Is this like the fifth time that I've announced that she broke her own record? She just keeps getting better and better. Again, local Parkersburg athlete, 4 minutes 53.09 in the mile. And she had broken that just earlier in January. So that's twice in the same month that she broke her school record. Um, and then Kylie Maston broke a record from 2017 set by Barkley Castro. She did a 2 minute 12.34 second in the 800. And they broke an overall 4 records on that day. And Coach Jeff Small said that that had been a long time since that had happened. Other weekend high marks, it says Krista Perry setting the 4th all-time best mark in the indoor pentathlon with 3,561 points. Micah Elaine scored a 4th place finish in her season debut in the 400 as well. Just 4 records. I don't see the other 2 where it mentioned that, unless those 2 were.
I know records. One of them. Actually, I know.
Okay.
I think I know both of them, and I will cover them when we talk about this week's results,
because they got broke again.
They got broken again.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch it on over to you now. A little bit of background is that you may notice we talked a couple of weeks back about the football players, and you might have noticed they've been absent from our track and field reports, is because they have not been traveling with the team because they had football workouts, other commitments, that sort of thing. But they're back, and here's KD to tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much news from the men's side of things here at the Bellarmine Classic. That we had a couple of decent showings. I don't think anybody won any events, but women's track and field is the dominant story from Louisville again this weekend in the PNC Bellarmine Classic. They won the meet overall, 89 total points, beating 15 other teams at the meet. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Herd women's track and field won the overall meet. They had 28 total top 10 finishes, 3 overall wins, and several more records were set. And let's talk about those because you mentioned some of those before. First of all, your 3 overall wins. Freshman Hannah Weiler won the 3,000, well, the 3K, let's put it that way, with 10 minutes, 19.37 seconds. And then sophomore Tyra Thomas won the 60-meter hurdles at 8.47 seconds. Yowza. And then senior Macy Majoy dominated, and this is their word, this is Herd Zone's word, dominated the pole vault with a new Marshall record, 4.1 meters, breaking her own record from 1 week prior at 4.03 meters. So 2 weeks in a row, she set a school record in the pole vault. Sophomore Kylie Maston set the next record in the mile run with 4 minutes 49.91 seconds, breaking her old record. I don't know if it was her old record, but
it was Abby Herring's record,
breaking the previous record by more than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So if Coach Jeff Small he's been around for a while, so he's far more in tune with the goings on of the track and field programs than we will ever be at Marshall. And if he's saying, I can't recall this happening, that ought to make you excited if you're a track and field fan, or if you're just a Marshall Herd fan, you're thinking, oh man, we're doing stuff that we've never done before. Right. And records are falling seemingly every single week. And if it's not an old record, it's a current athlete breaking their own record. So this is really awesome stuff, man. I would, again, I say this just about every week. I'd be lying to you if I told you I used to follow this closely, but this is one of those things, like we got so many folks turned on to softball. And you're like, man, I never really followed it. And they're really fun and they win a lot. I think I'm doing this to myself when it comes to track and field, because I'm one of those guys that really only pays attention to track and field when the Olympics come around, right? I'm like, I bet 90% of the world is like that, if not more. But I'm taking more of an interest in Marshall track and field because I know what 60 meters is, right? I know what these events are. So when we talk about it and you say, wow, this record fell again, wow, that record fell again, you start to become familiar with more names than just the great Abby Herring. You start to like, oh, okay, well, I recognize, Macy Majoy breaking another record. I recognize that name. I recognize Kylie Maston doing something. So this is cool for me that I'm opening my own eyes in real time to a new sport. And I would encourage a lot of folks to start paying closer attention, especially with the reemergence or the restarting of the men's program.
Yeah.
That could really become something special to watch. So you might as well start paying attention now. Might as well start now. What if we come out of the gate here in Sunbelt Championships and just, go off the charts with it and open a lot of eyes? Like, don't be late to the party. Start paying attention now. Get to know these athletes now. A lot of them are in-state athletes, right? So it just gives you another reason to cheer. It's West Virginia kids doing good stuff for the Herd.
And if you're a fan of the football team only, or a fan of the football team as a majority of your sports fandom from Marshall, the men's track team, as we've talked about, is going to amplify that quite a bit, because Coach Huff mentioned that we missed out on a recruit for football last year because we did not have a men's track program. A lot of those players like to do both. It's something that if they want to play two sports, they can do something that's not as intrusive, I guess you would say, as playing basketball and football, because the schedules overlap, things like that. So I will just say too that since we started this show, and this is a little bit of patting on the back on what we're doing, but also what you just said, we've opened our own eyes.
Yeah.
And we have followed all these deserving athletes who are running for our alma mater, the team that we love, the teams that we follow. And it's not just the men's sports, it's the women's sports, it's all sports here at Marshall. And we have enjoyed covering it, following it, learning more about some of the things. And it's just great to see anytime that we have success in these programs. And right now, it just seems like week after week, that's all we're talking about is growth and success in these programs.
Yeah, I'll tell you another cool thing before we move on. I've started here recently seeing come across my timeline, like been offered by Marshall Track and Field. Blessed to say that, I'm continuing my education at Marshall. I'm going to run track and field. That's cool, because that's never something that I used to see. And now it's finding its way to our timeline, and I get to share that with folks so they can really start to get a feeling for who will be here, what the future of the programs look like. That's cool. In a completely different capacity. So great showing by Herd Track and Field, especially the women's team taking that win. Let's move it over to tennis. I've been following this live because the match is going on while we're recording. The Herd's hosting Penn State, and they had been locked at 3-3 in singles play for the longest. And then I finally clicked over to see that Penn State won the singles section 4-3, giving the Herd their first loss on the season, now 3-1. They will host VCU tomorrow in Huntington as well. So let's try to get some bounce back. Try to get us a bounce back win, move to 4-1. But the tennis team's been kind of killing it. Hot start. They were, I mean, like I said, it was 3-3, and I was kind of glued to the timeline, seeing if it would update. And it's kind of bummed to see that, it's coming down to the final match, see who would take singles win or take the singles portion. And bummer, but let's get us a bounce back tomorrow. And gotta love what they're doing there. Let's go. Let's talk about women's basketball, Russ. They've been on a run here lately.
Yeah.
Been on a little bit of a run since we did our last show. They've gone 3-0. Spoiler alert. We're going to talk about some wins here. They've gone 3-0 since our last episode, because as we're recording, the win over Georgia State is literally less than an hour old. So that's your third win. But since we talked about them going 9-9, dropping to 9-9 way back when, and I remember saying nothing, now's as good a time as any to go on a run. That's exactly what they've done. They've gone 5-0 since dropping to 9-9. So let's talk about it. The last game we talked about, the ladies were down in Monroe playing Louisiana Monroe, snuck out a win in that one. Then they moved over to Jonesboro, played Arkansas State, got them a 71-59 win in that one. Rashala Scott went off 25 points. Abby Beeman had a double-double, 14 points and 12 boards. Then I think the game that most folks were really excited about, of course, Appalachia State coming back to the Cam. That's always one I think here that Herd fans are going to put a circle around. Doesn't really matter what sport it is. And the ladies got him a big win in that one, 72-64, protecting the Cam Henderson center floor. Rochelle Scott again, 22 points. Abby Beeman, 13 points and 9 rebounds. Mahogany Matthews had 12 points and 8 boards, and Sydney Scott had 11 points. 4 Herd scores in double figures to help the Herd cruise to that 72-64 victory. And today, the Herd hosted Georgia State. And you watched that game.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you tell on yourself here in a little bit, but the Herd pulls out the victory 50-45. Abby Beeman, 16 points, 6 rebounds. Rochelle Scott, 12 points. Mahogany Matthews, 11 points, 6 rebounds to extend to a 5-game win streak. Now.
Yeah, let me take over just briefly. So I watched the first half. I've got some stuff going on that I had to take care of, and I was like, I hate to not watch the second half, but I really got to do this stuff. So we go up to record, after the game's over, and you said, they won today, and I'm like, what? And you're like, yeah, they won today, and I hadn't been able to check, I've been with, and I said, man, they were down at halftime, and before the half started back, I had to leave, I had to stop watching, and it blew me away, because this is, how many times have we seen that we've been down double figures? How many times have we seen that we've been, looking at, even 21 points down, I think it was earlier this year, and we rolled off 22 in a row to go up by 1. We came back and won this game, and we come back yet again a couple times in the past week that we've had come from behind victories. And I just have to say, team, I love you, but why don't we try not getting behind and just blow everybody out by 30? I don't know if you guys have thought about doing it that way, but it's much easier to just blow everybody out by 30 than to have to come back by double digits. So
yeah, I think on the broadcast, don't quote me on this, I think on the broadcast I heard Mark Martin say that this is the 5th time this season that the Herd has come back from double digits to secure a win.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about closing out strong, right? I didn't get to watch the whole game. I was out doing family stuff also, and came in and just turned it on while I was getting ready for the show here. And I want to say that Marshall had the lead 2-0, and then didn't lead again until less than a minute to go. Yeah. So the quit is not in the vocabulary, right? Because you could pack it in at any point between 2-0 and I don't know what it was. I'm going to say 43-44, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You could have packed it in and be like, man.
It got up to 17-4, and then it kept around that 11 to 13 point margin there for the longest time while I was watching it. And again, I was disappointed in the start, but I kept watching, but I had to stop due to some things, but come back yet again. And there's even more times that we've come back and we've fallen just short.
Yeah.
So you gotta love, man, this is definitely the don't quit team.
Yeah. Let me tell you how they close out a game. At 8 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in the 4th quarter, Georgia State had a 40-34 lead. The score ended 50-45. Marshall went on a 16-5 run to close out that game. That is not quitting right there. Forget all the time in front of that. Those last 8.5 minutes, you go on a 16-5 run to close that one out. Tony Kemper deserves far more credit this season than he's getting.
Yeah.
I will tell you that. And it's not just him, it's that whole staff, right? Yeah. And it's all those girls working their tails off.
Yeah.
They have that mentality. How many times have we talked about it? These tough losses, these tough games early in the season will benefit you later in the season or at times in the season. And this is A, later in the season, and B, one of those times in the season. And it benefited them because they didn't quit. They never got shook. They never quit working. They never quit fighting and trying and making plays. And they clawed back and finally overtook the lead. And when they finally took the lead, it was stifling. It was like, that's it. There were a couple of good looks for Georgia State, but ultimately they made some foul shots at the end of the game and iced it away. It was I think they were down by 1, and Abby put in a layup or a jump shot and got a foul. So it was a 3-point play, and that was it. Then from then on, the last minute of the game after that play, it was just, there was no chance. I personally, I was like, I hadn't watched this game. I didn't know the ebb and flow of the whole game. But when I saw that happen, I was like, they're not winning this game. Like the Herd is going to close this out, right? I didn't know what happened up to that point. And I saw that happen. I thought, there's no way. And they held them off, and now they're 14-9.
When you're an opposing coach, how do you game plan? Do you tell your players, like, look, we hope that we can get up by 40 so we have a chance? Yeah, I mean, what do you say? It's like, guys, I mean, just get ready for it. They're going to score 20 in a row. You know, so.
They're going to go on a run or two.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't knock them out. They could not deliver the knockout blow to the Herd. They took all the punches and they punched back a little bit, but they just never could get knocked out. And I was frantically looking for like the Rocky gif where he says, "I didn't hear no bell," because that's what I was thinking of. Like, they didn't quit. They're coming back in.
Use the Randy Marsh one. It's much better.
All right, so let's go over to the men's side of the basketball arena, and they too have been streaking since dropping a rough one on the road there a couple of games back. Absolutely obliterated Georgia State at the Cam Henderson Center back on January 28th. 103-65 in a freaking Sun Belt Conference game. I mean, a near 40-point win.
And can I say that it was not as close as what that score is?
You can say that, sure.
Well, I just did, and I'll reiterate it. It was not that close. This game was over, and it was over early, and we just demoralized that team. And it's kind of like, I'm not saying that we put in, scrubs. Everybody on our team is good, but we put in the players that rarely get to play because the other guys are just playing so well, the first 7 and 8 and 9 in the rotation. And we put those guys in, and you could tell that the marching orders were, don't embarrass them, because we were at like 99 points or something like that with several minutes to go, if I remember correctly. And it was just like, hey, run some clock, take some time, let's show some class. We're up by a lot. No need to, beat them until, they're done. They're done.
I mean, I don't want to, I'm not trying to pile on, right? But these games, especially in conference games, they just don't happen very often.
But no.
So the Herd was kind of on, and Georgia State kind of was not. But just to drive some of these points home, right? Marshall scored 56 points in the first half. Georgia State had 65 for the game. So you didn't have to do much in the second half. And Marshall still went out and scored, 47 in the second half. And I don't think they were trying to embarrass anybody. It was just working. I mean, 6 guys were in double figures. Andy Taylor led the way, 20 points, 7 assists. Kinsey and Obina both had 18 apiece. Kinsey double-double, 10 assists on top of that. Kerfman and Han-Logden both had 11. And Connor had 10. The weird stat that came out of this game is, despite all that, Marshall was still out-rebounded. And it did not matter. I don't know how you get out-rebounded. It was only 43-37, right? But that's a half a dozen rebounds, and it's a 40-point win, 38-point win. That, I don't know that I've ever seen that, to be honest with you. I'm sure it's happened before. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, we shot so well. We had not as many opportunities for offensive rebounds as we normally did, because we were shooting so well and so many fast break points and points in the paint that we just didn't have them there. I don't remember, and I don't have the box score up to compare what our offensive rebounds were to other games. But rebounding has been a bit of an issue in this last 5 games or so. And we hope to change that. And little spoiler, we're going to need to change that when we talk about our game coming up. But no, that game was also unique for how many assists that we had
Yeah,
early.
I was about to say that.
We were on pace to do something crazy like 40 assists. I think we ended with 26, if I remember
26, yeah,
correctly.
but the disparity is huge. Georgia State
Yeah,
had 9 as a
yeah.
team.
We had 9 within the first like 12 baskets, I think, that we had. It was something ridiculous, like the number of assists per field goals that we had early in that game. We were almost every single field goal that we made was
Mhm.
via assist. It was just finding the open player, finding, the guy lobs at the basket, that sort of thing. It was unreal.
So following up that big win, it was the Herd's turn to hit the road and head to Boone, North Carolina, in another game that was a lot of chatter going around the Twitterverse between the fan bases.
Mm-hmm.
From what had happened early in the season, if you'll remember, Marshall kind of ran Appalachian State out of the gym at the Cam Henderson Center. So the Mounties were looking for a little payback against the Herd. They've been, not tossing shade again, they've been really unsuccessful as an athletic program this year when facing the Herd, and that cannot set well with those Appalachian State fans.
It's 0-7 since we
Yeah.
joined.
Woo. I don't think any of us would have figured that. You think so, at some point you're going to trip up somewhere, and Marshall just hasn't been able to do it. And guess what? Still hadn't happened because the Herd goes down to Boone, gets a win 66-58.
If all of our people that are really good with memes and things are listening, maybe we could have Owen do a knock knock joke. It's like knock knock, who's there? Owen who? 0-7, because that's what App State is against us
I
now.
think I can make that work. I can probably do that real quick.
As soon as we hang up here, do it. I want to see
think
it.
I will. But that was an impressive game too. The Mountaineers were really itching to get that win. They wanted that. And it was odd to me because leading in, they did not they were hyping the game Saturday, which is today as we were recording, against James Madison. They were doing a whiteout. They didn't want to hype the Herd's game. So maybe they already knew they were going to take that L, but whatever. Herd is 19-5, looking to get to 20 wins in that game. Scoring is dominated, of course, by Andy Taylor and Tavion Kinsey again. Andy Taylor goes for 21 and 7 assists. Kinsey has 15. That was really it. I mean, it was not a stellar night for the Herd shooting, 35.5% from the floor, just 25% from 3-point range. The problem was, App just couldn't do enough. They shot well. They shot almost 40% from the floor and 30% from the 3-point line. The Herd did kind of break that trend a little bit in rebounding. They edged the Mountaineers 41-39, but I don't know what it was. You would think that Marshall wasn't super on.
It was shooting.
I mean?
It was shooting early. We had several players that did not make a field goal. I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, we were Andy Taylor was 5 for 9 in the first half, and I tweeted out that the rest of the team was 5 for 24. So 5 for 24, and that included some. I think Kinsey was 3 of 7 or something like that. So just there was no one else able to hit. Kerfman was 0 for the field. Connor 0 for the field. Logton 10 seconds into, after sitting most of the first half, or a good portion of the first half, he was just 10 seconds in. He just kind of had his hands here, and the guy wasn't shooting or anything. Called a third foul, and he had to go to the bench again. So when you take that guy off the court, that just alters our defense. That alters our rebounding. It just changes so much in our game, and you can tell the impact that these freshman players have had. When he goes to the bench, the game changes. When Fricks was out for 3 games with that injury, we lost 2 of them. The game changes. Our defense changes. Our rebound changes. We lose that length that has really helped us. So yeah, that's kind of what I saw, was our shooting early and the foul trouble that Logton was in.
So along with that, Logton only had 4 points in the game. He did have 11 rebounds in the game, but because he spent so much time on the bench and foul trouble, or on the bench, maybe not so much time. You did get some quality minutes from David Early again and Wyatt Fricks again. Both of them had 16 minutes in the game, and both of them scored 6 points. And Fricks chipped in with another 5 rebounds, and Early had a couple as well. So they did pick up the slack for quite a bit. And of course, having Henlockton on the bench, it like you said, it alters so much stuff that, it drives down the point total. It makes the games a little closer than they should be, but still, another one of those games that it didn't go the Herd's way, like in an ideal situation, and they're still able to win. So now we look forward to tonight's game in Louisiana, the Cajun Dome against Louisiana Raging Cajuns. And this is a big one because there's kind of there's a knot of 3 teams kind of atop the standings. They're not really tied, but you're going to have to win these games to rise to the top. Whoever wins out of the Louisiana, Southern Miss, Marshall trio here, they're all kind of knotted within a game, half a game of one another in the wins-loss column, whatever column you're looking at. And they're pretty good. The Cajuns are undefeated at home. I think I saw 10-0 at the Cajun Dome maybe this year. They've got a contender for player of the year, just like Kinsey. So this is being billed as one of those type games to where, you could see the player of the year in the conference separate themselves from the other guy, depending. This is not going to be tough. And the Herd really needs to get this one. And before we go dive deeper into that, I'm just going to mention that after that, we go to Coastal Carolina in Conway and play on Thursday, February 9th. But let's not get to that one. Let's talk about this one at the Cajun Dome tonight, because there's a lot on the line.
Yeah, so I was doing some research on this. We put it out on Twitter that I was on 103.7 The Game, Louisiana Lafayette's radio station down there, sports radio. So I wanted to know a lot about their team. They seem to get the majority of their production from in the paint. Jordan Brown is who you're referencing of potential player of the year. He scores 19.6 a game and also gets over 7 rebounds a game. So he's a force down low. He's an older player, a little bigger, and it will be interesting to see if he can keep Henlockton off the boards, or if Henlockton with his 7'1" and long wingspan can get some of those nation's top shot blocker potential, that he can get Jordan Brown off his game. They also score a lot from 3-point land, and we like to think that we shoot a lot of threes, and we do. They've shot about 150 less than us, but they've only made 20 less than us. They're shooting over 40% as a team, and 3 of their guards are like ones at 46%. We're talking about Kerfman, how great he is at 41 and a half, and they've got somebody shooting almost 47% from 3. So that's what to look for from them tonight. They are close to us in rebounds. They're close to us in points. We do a little bit better in points allowed than they do, but it's 2 very evenly matched teams with just different ways to get those points in.
And just from a not a total basketball standpoint here, I've been thinking about this over the past couple of days since this game's been building up, and I've been thinking, like, we love our buddies down there at the Raging Review, and I'm not trying to toss shade again for like the 10th time this episode, but has there been a team in this first year of the Sun Belt that has been the thorn in the side more than Louisiana? And I can take it all the way back to the bowl game last year. They beat us in the bowl game. They beat us in the midweek, ruining the debut of the black helmets and all that kind of stuff. And now, we're going to be locked up in this big basketball game that could go a long way for seeding and postseason awards and all that kind of stuff. Just from a fandom standpoint, I just like to freaking beat them sometime in one that counts, right? And this one counts. Yeah. So they've gotten us 2 other times that I can think of off the top of my head. Both have been in football, but this is our first opportunity to get one from them. From the basketball side of things, to where it really, really counts.
Let's talk about why it counts so much.
Okay.
We are 1 game behind Southern Miss and 1 game behind Louisiana. We own the tiebreaker over Southern Miss. We beat them by 26, something like that, I think. If we beat Louisiana at Louisiana, we'll have the tiebreaker over them, and we'll be tied with them, but above them. Louisiana and Southern Miss play each other on Thursday. So depending on what happens tonight and depending on what happens on Thursday, we could be in sole possession of first place. If Louisiana loses to us tonight and beats Southern Miss on Thursday, that's exactly what will happen, because even with any kind of ties, we'll be above both of those in the tiebreaker. Why does that matter? The first four, the top four teams in the tournament, get a double bye.
Ooh, that's huge.
Huge. And if you are first, it's so much better. Second and third are almost interchangeable, but so much better than fourth. So you don't want to be fourth, you don't want to be second or third, you want to be first. And you would play the highest seed that you could possibly play in that first game is either an 8 or a 9 that you would be playing. You might play an 11, you might play a 13, but the very highest seed you can play in your first game would be the 8 or the 9 team. And then from there, you're going to be playing the 4 would be the highest that you could play in the semifinal game. And then you would play whoever from the other side, most likely a 2 or a 3. But you really want to get that top seed. The top 4 again, double bye. Top seed by far has the easiest path to the finals.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Louisiana is red hot right now.
They are
9-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Yep, 9-game win streak. Southern Miss is on a 7-game win streak. So something's going to give this week, one way or another. Something is going to give. I think Marshall just needs to try to take care of business in a big way tonight. Get one of those convincing wins over a good team. Again, we've seen them get a gutsy win over a pretty good Old Dominion team. We saw them get a blowout win against this Southern Miss team. And, their fans have excuses for that as to why or whatever, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the score on the scoreboard. But this is an opportunity to get a convincing win against a really good team at their house. And that would be yet another type of victory on the season for the Herd. I really hope they're able to do it. But I would take a hard-fought claw to victory win, too. Anyway, you got to do it. We just got to get this one. So, look, we got one more thing we got to talk about, and then we can get the heck out of here. And, of course, that is softball. Softball is cranking up real soon. Sunday, tomorrow. I'm going to try to get this episode up tonight so folks can hear about this and maybe get an opportunity to go. If you've heard your context clues, it's now currently Saturday, February 4th. So tomorrow, Sunday, February 5th, softball is having their annual black and green scrimmage from 2 to 4 over at the Dot. And you'll have an opportunity to not only watch them play a nice inter-squad scrimmage, but you get to mix it up with the players and coaches and everybody, and they're going to make themselves available for, just meeting with the fans and hanging out. So if you've got some kiddos and you'd like to go over there and rub shoulders with some pretty cool cats, then I know a whole field of them that are going to be out there just waiting to see you. Should be a nice day. Supposed to be fairly sunny, mid-50s. You ought to have some pretty good weather to get out there. Get out there. Go get a preview of what this potential new look type softball team is going to look like, because spring season is the spring will bring the start of the season next weekend down in my neck of the woods. And I made the promise, if I'm off work, I'm going to go watch them play. My wife is pumped for it. So hopefully I've got Saturday off next week and we'll be able to travel up about an hour away and watch the girls play. But tomorrow, get out to the Dot from 2 to 4, maybe a little early, and watch the black and white scrimmage, or the black and green scrimmage.
Should see me and my family over there. If nothing changes, we're hoping to be over there. And the girls are really looking forward to it, of course, as we discussed. But I know that there's been some turnover on the roster, but you don't find a better team that just has fun from start to finish of a game. They are just magic to watch, and it's, again, Dot magic.
Yeah.
But it's such a fun team to watch.
Well, Megan's told us that it's Dot magic, and a lot of that magic revolves around the fans in the stands, right?
Yeah.
They need that environment there. So get yourself accustomed to going over there. Go, if you've never been before, tomorrow's a great time to go over and check it out. It's a really cool venue. I mean, it's very intimate. You're right on top of the action. You can hear it all. You can see it all. It's just a lot of fun, and it's free. It's free. So, Russ, if you don't have anything else, take us out of here.
All right. No matter where you see us, whether you see us on 103.7 The Game, being asked to come on their show, if you see us over at the Joan, if you see us at the Cam, or if you see us tomorrow at the black and green game at the Dot, bring in your own little dot magic with 3 nearly feral children that I'll be bringing over there.
Always with the feral children.
No matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd. It's the ThunderCast. We'll see you next week. Later.